Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing good. It's a nice Sunday evening. We're gonna do our Saturday night show today, and try to do things a little bit differently. Hopefully, we have better reception this way. So you won't be seeing me tonight, but we are going to go through a bunch of different Native American stuff and listen to a Native American elder talk about the seven grandfather teachings and in their own way. We will hear from them, and I think you guys will be pretty intrigued by it. Of course, the whole misconception of Bigfoot in all Native American tribes and legends and stuff is not necessarily the case, as we took a look at last week and at what Trey the Explorer did, and we at the end we started reading and looking into some stories and legends. So we're going to continue some of that stuff and play some videos of the elders uh, talking and stuff. And we're going to hear some stories and maybe not, hopefully, get copyrighted and stuff. I don't think it will be and stuff because we're commenting on it and we're. It's for educational purposes, which they always love to share and stuff. It's always put out for educational purpose, especially in the format that they did this in. Also, spreading the information and stuff of lost cultural heritage, and so I think we should be pretty good. YouTube's been pretty good that way with me the last couple times. So we do have a bunch of stuff to get going. So let me pull up some screens. And we'll get going. And we will get this so you guys can see everything. All right, so here we have different tribes of North America. And, I don't know if you guys want to pick a certain one you would like to hear about and stuff, but we can go right here with the Arapaho because they got some pretty interesting stories, a mixture of little people and whatnot. So there's a lot of different spiritual aspects and all that blend together, especially when you read. I don't think I'm on the right thing, but maps of and this is a pretty good website to use. This is nativelanguages.org, and they have a huge online library of course, links. Some of these are old, so they don't work, but you have on a lot of these tribes websites, tribal community stuff, books, really good books, old books and stuff that you can find in a lot of different tribes and people and elders that wrote these books. And most of these links work and stuff. Of course, you can have maps and of the native different tribal lands and ancestral lands and stuff because they fluctuate and stuff. So a lot of the different maps online and stuff are just not correct, or they just were correct for a certain little amount of time that the colonialist drew the maps. But there are some pretty interesting maps that you can find that are actually pretty accurate. So of course you have myths and legends and stuff. And then we get into their own special different things that each culture has. But we're gonna look for the which I might have to go into a different tab, but of course this website has a lot of different information on different stuff. As it says, of course, read this before because this is Native American religious spirituality is sacred dances and ritual rites and a bunch of stuff. It's very complex, especially with each tribe, especially when they believe in slightly different variances and their cultures are very widespread. So it is pretty hard to get into, and you don't want to judge all of them by the book cover of they're just Native Americans, because they're all very uniquely different and stuff. So let me get out of this real quick. And get to the proper page. Because I thought I was on this one. All right, let me bring this back up. Okay, this is, of course, the Native American Indian legends and folklore, and a very nice list. Among other things, of course, there's several different categories, not just Native American folklore, but a whole bunch of different subcategories on this website. But a huge list put together of many different tribes. I think there's I think each column is about 50, 55. That's what I counted in the first column. So there's about maybe 200, give or take, different tribes. And you can click on some of these, like the Kickapoo. It's a pretty common one. And you see right here, the Kickapoo tribe, the traditional stories related to the tribes like the Meskwaki and the Shawnee are very similar, because there are many tribes that speak the same kind of language, like family tree of languages, even though they're slightly different accent, slightly dialects, and they spell things slightly different and they pronounce things slightly different. They overall have the same kind of cultural heroes and stories, but they might have a slightly different name for the hero they're all talking about. An example is with the Anishinaabe language group, which is like the Ojibwe, the Potawatomi, the Cree, the Ottawa. They will pronounce things a little differently, like Bo Show and Bo Zo. Sometimes one tribe makes the sound of an S, and the other tribe makes the sound with a Z sound, with the name of things and words. And very fascinating stuff. So let's skim around in a little bit. So and we did talk and see how these are lit up, because these are categories that we already clicked on from different tribes that this tribe is talking about. Of course, thunder beings are powerful storm spirits that live in the sky. And they were a character in the story that we read on last live stream, where they tried to impede the cultural hero Nanobojo, and trying to keep him from going on his great journey. Of course, very fascinating stuff. So, of course, you have great serpents. You have the Paishas, you can a lot of different variations of spellings and pronunciations of these words, but they're talking about little magic people of the forest, similar to gnomes and fairies. In most Kickapoo tales, the little people are portrayed as mischievous but generally benign nature spirits who play tricks on people but are not dangerous. So when you click on that, of course, you have the name from that tribe, the affiliation of the tribes, the Sac and Fox, Miami, the Illinois, Potawatomi, the Kickapoo, the Ottawas. These are all the alternative names of spellings for these same kind of creatures. Of course, the Algonquin plural form is Pasque, Pesky, all these different ones. And then Pukwudgie is not in this, but is also the name for these little creatures. And then they also started calling them with the W. Okay, so Paishas are magical little people of the forest of central Algonquin folklore, similar to gnomes and fairies. They're said to be about 2 feet tall, and their name literally means little ones. In most stories, Paishas are portrayed as mischievous but generally benign. Nature spirits play tricks on people, but not danger. But are not dangerous. A little tongue-tied. Yeah. In other stories, Paishas have formidable magic powers and pose threats to humans or even to the cultural hero Wesky, but usually only if they are provoked. In some Miami traditions, Peshies are played by more important religious roles as guides to lead the spirits of the dead among the Milky Way to the afterlife. In the Fox and Suak tribes, the native names for the little people also includes the twin heroes Lodge Boy and Thrown Away. These heroes are also little people, but are not really dwarves. Rather, they are magical children who never grow up. In the Sac and Fox folklore, Peyi Shkakuuk and Apuk I can't butcher that. See, the problem with these names is with Native American names is when you look how it's spelled, the majority of the time or half the time is not even how it's pronounced, um, because they have their own specific way of pronouncing, like PAIA, and how you string words together is much different than how English would pronounce them. Can be seen referring to either the magical boys or the forest dwarves. Longer Sac and Fox names like that. Literally, miniature mortal men. Miniature mortal men. They're sometimes referred to as dwarves to avoid ambiguity. The Kickapoo, Miami, and the Alina tribes also have twin heroes similar to Lodge Boy and Thrown Away, but they do not use the name Paish for any of its variants to describe them. So, a lot of different similarities, but also, in some tribes, they don't use the same words to describe some cultural heroes, indicating they feel like they would be different. And this is just, again, one tribe of many. I don't know if you guys have a specific tribe you guys want to look into or not. Go over here. Because the Rougarou, of course, everyone thinks, Rougarou is Native American skinwalkers, witchcraft, and, werewolves. And on this website, which is pretty old, and from a lot of reputable sources, Rougarou is just a made-up legend in it of itself because of the mispronunciation of the French word loup-garou, which is werewolf. And the Native Americans, usually the Mischief or the Cree or the Algonquin, which would be Cree, Ojibwe, were usually the northwest northern tribe of Canada and the Dakotas that were Algonquin, and they would say Rougarou for loup-garou, and of course these adaptations of the Witigo, which is the same thing, different spelling, right? Different tribes, same language tribes, right? Sister tribes, but they're spelling it with a Wendigo, and the other tribe that's more westward would say Witigo, and it's pretty funny, but that's kind of how the Algonquin language family is the east side, the central, the north, and the west, different tribes like the Cree, the Ojibwe, Ottawa, the Potawatomi, the Algonquin, which are in like northwest United States and Canada, and then I think I'm forgetting another one that speaks the same language, but they're not the same as the Iroquois. The Iroquois speak a different language than the Algonquin. So it's like Iroquois, the Cherokee and stuff. They're not the same Native American language speaking tribes as the Algonquin, and they have different stories of stone giants, their own different stories. But the Rougarou in its of itself is not a real thing from Native American stories. It's just a blend of French werewolf stories, Native American ice giant stories, and a bunch of different stories mixed together because there's different shapeshifters, transformers, spiritual characters, tricksters that are in a lot of Native American tribes. So they've just blended everything together. All right, so we're gonna go over to where is it? They don't have it. So that means it is over here for Chippewa. Sometimes Chippewa is a different name for the Ottawa. It's kind of complex, and it's not really complex. It's just that English, sometimes the English names and words and all that, but they're all talking about the same stuff. So, like this one is Wanabojo, Nanabojo, Nanabutuzo, right? Nanabush, Manabojo, right? Minabojo, and other in several different ways, but they're all talking about the same dude, right? Same cultural hero and cultural stories, but they're just separated by the sister tribes. They speak different dialects. They speak different words. They and it's like kind of like the telephone game. Like the story is ancient, and talks about the people coming. Like we'll hear the Turtle Island, and stuff. And they talk about the how it was and stuff. But when they get they pass down the oral traditions of this main character Nanabojo, and there's some rock art that we showed. The telephone game begins to happen where, well, this one tribe that's more westward, we'll say Wanabojo, and here in Michigan and stuff, the Potawatomi would say Nanabojo, but would spell it with an S. It would be like this Nanabojo, but with an S. And while the Ojibwe and some of the Crees started saying it with the W. Very fascinating stuff. So, of course, he is a benevolent cultural hero of the Anishinaabe tribes, sometimes referred as the Transformer. He's also sometimes a trickster. Sometimes in one of these tribes, he's literally called kind of dumb, like he's a dumb fool, a dummy. His name kind of means, so it's kind of funny. He goes on a bunch of different adventures, and of course talks to animals, talks to rocks, talks to everything. Everything is able to speak to him, and he gives the wisdom that we're actually about to listen to, and is a part of it and stuff. So we're going to get into some of this aspects because I think you're going to find this interesting. With this archetype character. Of course, Wendigos are often described and depicted as Bigfoots and stuff because well they're giants, right? They must be a Bigfoot because they're the only thing that the Great Lakes tribes talk about that are giant and like Bigfoot like, right? They don't have many different things that they're saying is Bigfoot, right? Of course, so here's the Wendigos, and you can see the alternative spellings for this for different tribes in English. All these different variations of the same thing. Pronunciation varies by dialect, usually Windigo or Windigoo, or however many different ways you want to try to pronounce it, however it's spelled. And it's typically an ice cannibal giant, relatable to different figures in other tribes. like the Wittigo from the Cree, which is more the western edge of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. Of course, they have different representatives of the stone coats from the Iroquois, the Chinoo, the Key Waka. Wendigos are evil man-eating giants of the Anishinaabe mythology and of other tribes that speak different languages than the Anishinaabe, which are Potawatomi, Algonquins, Ottawa, which is Chippewa, which is that's Algonquin, Chippewa and Algonquin, or I mean Chippewa and the Ojibwa are the same thing. It's just English, just different. It's like this, different pronunciations and spelling. It's just the same thing. So that's it's kind of confusing looking up information, but here are stories and stuff. The girl and the Wendigo baby, the story about a baby that is turned into a Wendigo, and most of these are, of course, actual like magical things that happen, spiritual things, possession from evil spirits, usually in the dead of winter because starvation is such a big problem, and to the point that people would eat other people to survive. And the stories of the Wendigo would be something that they believed would happen, and you would become possessed, and sometimes you would turn into a big ice giant, and when they killed you and stuff, the creature would melt away. They would have an ice heart that would melt, or the person itself would be shriveled up and left over. And in the story of the Wendigo baby, I think we can look at it. I don't know if it's going to be here or not because these websites are pretty old. But I do remember, and I think there's other websites that you can find the Wendigo baby. The baby's left over when the monster is basically defeated. The baby is pretty much all that's left, and of course it's dead. The story is anytime you turn into the creature and there is really no turning back. You pretty much just die. But it's all magical, and it's not related to Sasquatch, as we're about to listen to from the very people, from the very some of the elders of the Ojibwa / Chippewa / overall Anishinaabe tribes. So we're going to listen to some of that, and I think it's going to be very fascinating. We're going to listen to all 7 teachings and stuff. It's very fascinating stuff, and I think you're going to find one in particular that we've talked about, the 7 grandfather teachings. So here's the Bugawajinini, or the Pukwudgies. See, it's P with Puck, but they say it with a B. And these are the little people, mostly associated with the Ojibwe or Algonquin. Of course, we have the Pesci. As we click on this, there will be a different name. Pukwudgie is the most famous English version we like to talk about and pronounce, but all of these are different pronunciations of the same thing. Here are the of course, they're magical little people of the forest, similar to Crumb's fairies. These Pukwudgie stories are usually throughout the northeastern U.S. Of course, there's a lot of different variations and stories from other places. And considered mischievous, but basically a good-natured creature who plays tricks on people, but is not dangerous. While other tribes would say they can be dangerous if you push them in a corner. Of course, you read at different tribes, they kind of speak at different things. Maybe they had different interactions with those kind of creatures in the different areas that the natives lived and those little creatures lived. However, their nature varies, and of course, in the folklore of the different tribes in the Ojibwa and the other Great Lakes tribes, like the Ojibwa, the Potawatomi, and the Ottawa. The Pukwudgie is considered course, good. And other ones, they can be dangerous, but only to people who treat him with disrespect or them with disrespect. The other tribes of the southern New England, Pukwudgies are conspicuous and dangerous creatures who may play harmless tricks and even help a human neighbor. They are just as likely to steal children or commit deadly acts of sabotage. Of course, they were the cultural enemy of their hero. Of course, we could click that link and read on that. A lot of different links and stuff you can dive into, and a lot of fascinating stories. But we are going to go and listen to a story being told by an elder. The 7 sacred laws, or 7 grandfather teachings, is what they're most commonly known by, and what I usually refer to them as the 7 grandfather teachings. And we are going to take a listen and comment on each and one of these. So there's 8 videos, and they're about 3 minutes, 2 minutes each. First one's going to be a little bit longer. But I find that they're going to be very important to listen to all of them, especially maybe the one that pertains to us, and that it's interesting. You got to get the whole thing. If we just skip to the juicy part, we're not taking in the whole understanding of the 7 grandfather teachings, and it's really what we need. All right. Let's remove this. And we're going to add the other one. We'll make that full screen. Is it full screen for you? Yep. All right. Let's play it.
Thousands of years ago, the first peoples of Turtle Island, America, were given a gift from the Creator, the 7 sacred laws. Represented by 7 animals, these teachings offer a special understanding of how we as people should live our lives on Mother Earth. Elders continue to share these teachings in their sacred lodges today.
Ojo anin dine magnetuk nigani akin ane dishnikas kinyo dotem saging donji anishna benda. My dear relatives, I want to welcome you to the Turtle Lodge. In this lodge, we share ceremonies, we share teachings, and we share our identity as the first peoples. Not far from here is a very special place we call Manitowopi, which translates to where the Creator sits. Our sacred site of Manitowopi is acknowledged every time we say the name of the province of Manitoba. It's important because this is where our creation as a people began. In the beginning, there was only darkness and silence, but the sound of the shishigwan, the sacred rattle, broke the silence. In the distance, a shining blue light appeared, and it descended upon Mother Earth from the sky world through a portal called Pagonegijik, the hole in the sky. And it landed on Manitowopi. This divine shining blue light is in each one of us. This is your spirit. The Anishinaabe people have gathered in this sacred place for thousands of years to have ceremony and to honor the spirit. One day, a young boy was brought to Manitowopi to fulfill a rite of passage, a vision quest. This is how a young boy became a man, by being initiated by the first woman, who we call Mother Earth. He fasted with no food or water for 4 days and 4 nights. Alone in the darkness, the young boy felt very afraid. As darkness fell, he would stay close to the sacred fire and wonder, why am I here? It was the final night. His eyes felt heavy. Comforted by the fire's warm glow, he drifted off.
I'm not sure what just happened. It just kicked it off StreamYard. I don't know. Let me get that back up for you guys. Hopefully that was getting you guys into it, because it's going to just get better and better. And of course, that boy representation is, he has a backpack and clothes on. This is, of course, a story that is thousands, thousands, and thousands, thousands and thousands of years old. As old as the people that they are. So let me get the computer set back up. It completely just knocked me right out of the website. So get that back up for you guys. And this is why it's just so fascinating. I love Native American culture, especially the as a young kid, I studied the Anishinaabe people, and in the basically the fourth grade, when we learned about Michigan culture and the Native American culture, we actually had a very nice teacher, Miss Mylan at the time. She of course remarried, and she she was a Youper. She was from the UP, and she really did a great job at history and of Michigan and Native American cultures, and it was a heavy influence on me, of course, and the Bigfoot study that I do today. All of the Native American stories and culture has fascinated me and influenced me heavily. So let's get back to it.
His strange sound snapped him awake. He called out.
Wait, I want to make sure this is the right one. Okay. Let me rewind it just a little bit.
He drifted off to sleep. Suddenly, his strange sound snapped him awake. He called out.
Hello?
There was no answer, but the boy was certain someone or something was there. He was no longer alone.
Elders continue to share these teachings in their sacred lodges today.
During the vision quest ceremony, a boy must spend time alone on the land. Seeking a vision, he must be initiated by Mother Earth. In doing so, the boy has a path to manhood that is based on respect for women and all life on the earth. It was the fourth and final night. Tired, hungry, and anxious, he awaited the sunrise. As he lay in a light sleep close to the fire, a strange noise woke him. The boy quickly sat up and searched in all directions, but saw nothing. Then a deep voice came from the sacred fire.
My grandson, we have heard your call.
The boy turned to the flames and froze in disbelief as a large buffalo appeared.
Do not fear, for I bring you the first law of respect. I have given every part of myself to help the people to survive. Respect means giving from the heart without expecting anything in return. Now take this message, my boy, and share it with the people.
The buffalo stared deep into the boy's eyes, making a connection that spoke to his spirit before disappearing. Mashkute Bijike, the grandfather buffalo, stands on guard to remind us of the law of respect. Respect all life on Mother Earth. Respect the land. Respect your elders. Respect people of all colors. The boy couldn't believe what he had seen. He sat in silence, thinking of the teaching shared by the buffalo. Suddenly, he was startled by a high-pitched screech. He looked to the dark sky and saw a large creature flying towards him.
Amazing stuff, and just an inspiration to live by. Of course, these are teachings that can help everyone in their lives. This is thousands of years old teachings and stuff that is, was passed down to these tribes and stuff. And now, we are lucky enough that it survived, and we are lucky enough that, they are sharing it with us, and they want everyone to learn about this stuff and, think about the teachings and live these ways. And because these are the ways of how they are supposed to live. The people of their tribes are supposed to live. These are their. So let's go to the other one. All right. Let's here. All right. So let's put this back up, and then we'll watch this one.
You see, the young boy was given a very special gift, an important message of respect. We need to remember the spirit of respect is shown to all life because we are all related. The animals, the water, and the land, which is our source of life. As the young boy reflected on the law of respect, a loud screech from above startled him. The boy jumped up and looked to the sky. A huge gust of wind blew him to the ground. He looked up to see something incredible. An enormous eagle stood over him.
My boy, I am here to bring you the law of love. Unconditional love is expressed in your action of kindness. Love the land, for the land provides everything we need in order to survive. Love yourself, for it is only when you love yourself that you can truly love someone else. Love all life on earth. Love the Great Spirit.
Megasi, Grandfather Eagle is a symbol of love. He flies the highest to receive love from the Great Spirit, then drops it on the people. Grandfather Eagle brushed the boy with his wing. The bird's touch filled the boy with an overwhelming sense of love and kindness, and he began to cry with happiness. The eagle wrapped the boy in his wings, comforting him before flying up to the sky. He wiped away his tears as the eagle flew off and then returned to his fire. The young boy wouldn't be alone for long. The silence was broken by a loud noise deep in the bush. Something was moving towards him, but this time the boy was no longer fearful. He was ready for his next visitor.
And of course, the great stuff to learn about, listen to, read about. And the most fascinating stuff is this, this is thousands of years old. This is the beginning of their people. If you read all their legends and stuff, these are the very foundations of their birth. The story about this boy who would, grow up, teach the people everything that he learns. What do you think he's going to meet next? All right, let's get it ready.
The 7 Sacred Laws. Elders continue to share these teachings in their sacred lodges today.
To feel true love is to know Dijemanidu, the Great Spirit. It is understood that one's first love must be Dijemanidu, our Creator. He is considered the source and giver of life, enjoyed by all creation. The young boy continued on his vision quest, feeling an overwhelming sense of love he received from Legacy, Grandfather Eagle. As he tended to the fire, he heard something in the forest. The crackling of branches and leaves gets louder and louder. He focused closely on the tree line and stepped closer to see what was there. From the bush, a giant grizzly bear appeared and approached the boy.
Brave one, I bring you the law of courage. Always do the right thing that is expressed from your heart. Courage is to have strength to resist doing something you know isn't right.
The first people learned the vision quest ceremony from watching the bear fast while sleeping in the winter months. Many Anishinaabe ceremonies involve fasting. It is a ceremony where people seek the spiritual strength to be courageous enough to live their vision and to have the courage to love oneself. The boy and the bear looked at each other in silence. A feeling of courage washed over the boy. Then the bear turned and disappeared into the dark forest. As the boy wandered back to the fire, a loud noise stopped him in his tracks. The treetops swayed all around him. Something big was thundering quickly towards him.
What can I say? Just amazing stuff. And we don't even have probably a quarter of the understanding of what truly all this meant, and the real legends, the real stories, the real sacred rituals and rites and stories that they had, and many that were wiped out when, of course, the Native Americans were exterminated and forced on the reservations and walked the Trail of Tears, and just how much cultural stuff was lost. Thankfully, enough of it was preserved, and I think a lot of it is preserved and held on to these elders, and regarded as the most sacred things that they have and they can hold on to. And it's not something that I feel that they are definitely telling anyone else that's outside of the tribe, but young tribe members who are going to be elders one day, they who are going to be taught from birth, about this stuff. Just I find it fascinating how much more different stories could be listened to that we are truly missing. So let's get to the next one. And I think you guys are going to find this one among the most interesting.
Elders continue to share these teachings in their sacred lodges today.
Sometimes it takes a lot of courage to listen to your heart and to your spirit as it's telling you what to do, even when your mind tells you something else. We all need courage to do the right thing. After the bear left, the young boy was startled by a large noise. Something was stomping through the bush, and it was getting louder. The boy stood on guard as the treetops swayed. Whatever it was getting closer. Then silence. The only sound that the boy could hear was the sound of something breathing. Then he noticed a pair of eyes glowing in the darkness. Using all his courage, the boy stepped towards them. Slowly, a towering being covered in hair emerged from the bush. The boy froze as this massive human-like creature stood over him.
Young man, I bring you the law of honesty. To be honest is to be someone who is trusted and who speaks with truth. To never lie and always be genuine. Say what you mean what you say, and always stay true to your values.
Long ago, there was a giant called Kichisabe. You may know him as Bigfoot or Sasquatch. The Sabe teaches us to never lie or gossip. Be honest with yourself and others. Speak from your heart and be true to your word. The young boy, mesmerized by the words shared by the large being, held his heart as Sabe vanished into the darkness. On his way back to the fire, a soft whisper came from behind a fallen tree.
You have a gift, young man. You must share it.
The young boy quickly looked around, wondering where the soft voice came from. As he crept closer to the fallen tree, something scurried from behind him.
Now, how fascinating is that? How fascinating that is their story. That is thousands of years old. And the 7 grandfather teachings of how they should live, how their people should live. And this has been passed down for generation after generation for thousands of years. And it just so happens to have the teaching of honesty from Kichisabe. And that elder right there is saying, Sasquatch, Bigfoot. And I find it fascinating, of course, that you see that it has the glowing red eyes, or glowing eyes. I didn't say red, but glowing eyes. And another story that I read last week, the Native American cultural hero encountered a Bugojawinini, which is a wild man from the redwoods who had glowing eyes too, and a very interesting depiction of him. See, that's their reference to Bigfoot and stuff. It's not a cannibal giant. It's not the Wendigos. It is not the stone coats giants who have magical jewels in the middle of their chest. They're not magical skinwalkers, right? These are the people of the woods. Actually, in the other story we referenced and stuff, the Bigfoot
to never lie and always be genuine.
In the other story that we read, the Bigfoot actually talks about his own people and says that they will live differently and stuff, and they will live not in towns. They won't live like us and stuff. And there's another reference of one of his kinds actually talking about his kind and stuff. So that's why I've always referenced him as a tribe of people or something other than an ape, because that reference is just so belittling to Native American culture, because they're clearly it's not just the dumb ape. I know all the animals and stuff talked to the natives in the story, but in this particular one, in the other stories and stuff, this wild man seems to talk. And actually, the other story describes his people, which we'll actually take a look at here. And after we listen to the rest of the 7 grandfather teachings, because we had to build up to this moment to understand things, and we're going to listen to the other grandfather teachings after this, because it's very important to get the whole story first. Even though there's this juicy detail of a Bigfoot staring us in the face from a Native American cultural stories that they have, among the most sacred stories, and how they should live by, the code of conduct of how the people should live by, bestowed by the Great Spirit himself, the Creator, who, when a lot of Native Americans of the Anishinaabe tribes, converted and stuff, they saw the Great Creator as God and Jesus as his son. They had no real issues with that, even though there's a lot of different nuances to that, of course, a lot of different stuff, but for the most part, a lot of different, when they talk about the Great Spirit and the Creator and stuff, and you hear about some of the stuff that he talks about of, of course, the 7 grandfather teachings, it's definitely not the savage, pagan, cannibal Native American, Indians, that is portrayed in a lot of the cowboy movies, or, that they're dumb, barbaric people who are not sophisticated. It couldn't be further from the truth. Now, there was a lot of different tribes who were engaged in brutal warfare, but and maybe were a little bit different, but a lot of tribes were very sophisticated in their culture and sophisticated as a people, in a way to be a people and stuff. It's unfortunate that a lot of different stereotypes of Native Americans is just certainly not true. And again, so much is lost, so much amazing stuff. We could have had if things were a little different. But I find it so fascinating. Of course, the Sabe means honesty, and Kichi Sabe is talking about that one particular Sasquatch, Bigfoot, or Sabe, who came out and bestowed upon the young boy the law of honesty and how to live by it. So we're going to go on to the next teaching, the next 7 grandfather teaching. We're going to put it all together. And this is one of dozens of stories that you can read about, that you can listen to, especially from, elders and stuff, and research, and it's fascinating stuff. And there's a couple references that you can find in the Anishinaabe people where they talk about, and some elders were acknowledged as Bigfoot. It is not the cannibal giant of like the Wendigos and stuff. Now, here in modern times, right, we have Bigfoot, right? We don't, we have reports of glowing eyes. We have reports of a lot of different things, right? There's a lot of missing people, so the other story where the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, talks about his people, he describes them as a people, and they're going to live differently and stuff. It didn't say that. It said people and stuff, right? So people can be good and bad. Maybe there's some variations, right? There's a way that they live, right? And it's different than ours. But that doesn't, I don't think, necessarily mean that bad things can happen and you have some bad individuals, because you can have bad people, right? And if they're a type of people, and unless they're a little bit, so I think there's some modern issues and modern conflicts, and if they're a type of people that are survived out there and they have some, spiritual powers or natural powers of the earth, obviously they might be finding it a little hard, regardless of what's going on. Sasquatch is probably having an issue with civilization, modern people, the destruction of the land, obviously the pollution. Uh, the land is very sacred to Native Americans. I'm sure Bigfoot and all the animals and stuff, everything, right? Everything is in balance, and the destruction of the world is going to come at a heavy price. And there's actually another set of stories called the prophecy of fire, or the 8 prophecies of fire, and basically they are prophecies of basically the end of the world. And they talk about, it's basically, it's the prophecies of it's not, well, I guess we could read about it, but basically it's stuff that is prophesized and portrayed to the Native American Anishinaabe people, and it talks about the migration of the people, the coming of the white man, choices that if this happens, then this will happen down the road. If this happens, then this will happen. And it does talk about the white people coming to contact. It does happen. It does say, well, it does foretell what happened, which is all the destruction of all the Native Americans. Now, in our time, it does talk about, if we continue to pollute the earth and don't change our ways, and let evil rule our souls and our hearts, then we're going to go down this pathway. But if we can come together and go back to the old ways, the 7 grandfathers, and going back to, and respecting the earth, we can go down a different path, and the outcome is much different. And again, that is some very fascinating stuff that I've read about since I was a little boy, and more and more, it's like, I can't believe some of these stories are as old as they are, and yet, especially that one, depict the current events, or the Native American contacts and all that. It's contact with the white people. It's fascinating stuff. But let's get on to the next one, the next 7 grandfather teaching.
The sacred laws. Elders continue to share these teachings in their sacred lodges today.
The elders say the best way to honor the spirit of the Sabe is to speak from your heart and be true to your word. The young boy stepped closer to the fallen tree to see who was speaking to him. From the edge of the log, a white tail was lying flat on the ground. Suddenly, a big fluffy beaver jumped up and sat on the log. "Who are you?" the boy asked.
Who's you, grandson? I bring you the law of wisdom. Wisdom is knowing you have a special gift and purpose, and using your gift to build a peaceful world. Everyone has a gift. Your gift was given to you by Kije Manitou to help the people. You will be happiest when you are using your gift.
The beaver has a gift of sharp teeth. They use their gift to chew logs and build dams. If the beaver did not use the gift of sharp teeth, their teeth would grow long and they would not survive. Just like the beaver, we need to use our gifts to fulfill our purpose and live a happy life. After the beaver shared his teaching of wisdom, he quickly scurried off into the forest. The boy laid next to the fire. He looked up to the sky and wondered, "What is my purpose?" Just then, a loud howl echoed like a crack of thunder from the sky.
You know, again, this is just amazing stuff. I think I just getting back into this and stuff. It just re-energized my passion a heck of a lot more with in doing this and rethinking about some things and stuff because we don't know what's going on, right? A lot of people say they do this and do that, but we don't know, right? This is the fact of the matter is we actually just have to walk up to the dang thing and get observation of, is this damn thing a stupid gorilla that's just a wild humanoid thing that maybe it's intelligent enough to survive out there, or are these highly intelligent things that are well beyond our understanding and we are giving so little credit to, and we our understanding is just a drop in the bucket. And it seems like that no matter what, but if it is truly more of the Native American aspect of their people and culture and all different stuff, then we are truly going to get our minds blown with discovery. And maybe that's why they don't want it to be known about. There's a reason why it seems like it's censored and there's an agenda to not make it public. Well, what is it? Well, we don't know. I'm gonna go play the first part of that. Let's hear that key thing he says about the Gitchi Sabe, about Sabe, about how to possibly honor that, right?
The elders say the best way to honor the spirit of the Sabe is to speak from your heart and be true to your word.
Speak from your heart and stay true to your word, huh? Maybe that's what we need to do when we're out there and stuff. Maybe that will help to live by some of these laws and teachings that, especially the one that Sabe is bestowed about to the boy about how the people should live. All right, let's listen to the next one, which is the wolf.
To know wisdom,
Oh, give me a second, just glitched up. Let me do this. Reshare that, redo that for you guys.
to know wisdom is to know your spirit is part of you. It defines your identity, your gifts, and your purpose that help you serve humankind and Mother Earth. The boy was lying on the ground, watching the clouds as they passed by the moon, when suddenly he was startled. The boy jumped up and saw the silhouette of an animal sitting on a cliff. It leapt down the rocks and approached the boy. Right in front of him, a large timber wolf stepped out of the shadows and bowed his head.
Bonjour. I bring you the law of humility. To know humility is to be humble and modest, and to know you are no more or less important than any other living being in this beautiful world. We all have been created equal. Think of others before you think of yourself, and be grateful for everything you have.
Just like the wolf, practicing humbleness means always thinking of others before we think of ourselves. The wolf stepped back and let out another loud howl, bowed his head, and ran off into the darkness. The boy bowed his head to return the humbleness shared by the wolf. After receiving many visitors and teachings, the boy was feeling very tired. After preparing for bed, he lay silent, reflecting on all the important teachings he had just received. Before he could fall asleep, he began to hear a gentle voice chanting a soft melody. He sat up. Who could it be now?
And this is why our understanding of Native American cultures is just so skewed with mainstream views and stuff through movies and stereotypes and just propaganda from the colonial times and Wild Wild West times to win the land, and and it's just a shame because these people were just everything but savages, and I just find their cultures in all sorts of different tribes from the Southwest, the California, the Pacific. Fascinating stuff. And I think when you read into some of these legends and you get into it, you might be able to learn something. You might have some reflections and stuff that it's good. And I think this misconception of Bigfoot is in all Native American legends, and it's so easy to find and to easily to provide evidence for is the misconception, because you can find references of giants who the natives themselves will say, well, that's not Bigfoot. We're not saying that is Bigfoot. No. There's totally something else. Evil spirits and stuff, cannibal evil spirits, stone plated golems created by witches with magical jewels in the middle that you have to destroy the golem, which is what it is. Super ice giants, giants that are as tall as treetops, that are 150 feet tall, and giants that are 250 feet tall, that are referenced as names for Bigfoot in Native American culture, and they're on these big lists that is can be provided. That is just not true, because when you dive into it or you go and ask them, hey, is this Bigfoot that you're talking about? No, it's completely something else, and is on its own very fascinating stuff. It's just the misconception is that we don't experience all these different varieties of things that each culture we're talking about, but we experienced like Bigfoot, right? So well, all these names can be lumped into Bigfoot because it has giant, or it might be hairy, or it's seen kidnapping people, or whatever variation that people and researchers use to lump in as, oh, well, it's Native American Bigfoot. Here's the proof. And it's far from the truth. You can find it on the Pacific Northwest and the California North Coast, coastal tribes, and Northern California tribes. They talk about Bigfoot and stuff, and that's the majority of where the mainstream information comes from. It's not all of the tribes, because all of the different tribes are not as blatant about it. And they might have their own secret, special teachings and stuff. And like we got into the other live stream with the Maya Duck Touch, or the pictured rock from the Thule, Northern California tribe, where a lot of Bigfoot researchers will say, well, yeah, it's Bigfoot on the rock, and it is depicting of a very sacred entity of the particular tribe. And I think they've got offended with Kathy Strain, of course, saying it's Bigfoot, and retelling their creation story of basically it sounds like a wild man who speaks and kind of like Gitchi Sabe, and is depicted on the rock. I think they get offended, of course, when you lump into Sasquatch, and of course all of our stereotypical Bigfooters really disrespected the tribe's teachings and understanding of what Sasquatch or Sabe really means to each tribe, because it's not some dumb Bigfoot that you should be out chasing and stuff, but it's majority of the time probably very sacred figures, or in each culture it's different. So it's it's kind of hot. It's you can't lump all Native Americans together, because but this Anishinaabe teaching of the Sabe, of the seven grandfathers, is most of the Great Lakes region. It is the Great Lakes region, besides the southern, which would be like Ohio, and which was the Iroquois. But the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe, the Chippewa, which is the Ojibwa, the Potawatomi, the Ottawa, the Cree, the Algonquin, they all considered the Gitchi Sabe, the teaching of honesty and stuff, to be very sacred and stuff. And so I don't think we should, be disrespecting them by saying, the Wendigos Bigfoot, the Stonecoats are Bigfoot. Some of the names for little people get lumped in for a name for Bigfoot because, well, it's a juvenile Bigfoot they're talking about. It's a small, hairy, dwarf looking thing. Well, it's a baby Bigfoot. These tribes literally describe them as little people, totally different in their own specific way. And these are the tribes that lived off the land and lived out there, and they knew everything. They knew how the difference between raccoons and a Bigfoot. Like, they're gonna probably know the difference between a little person and a Bigfoot, or a super giant Wendigo who is as tall as the treetops, made out of ice, compared to Bigfoot, or compared to other spiritual entities that can possess them, or spiritual wickedness. When they talk about the great serpents in the lakes and the swamps, they're not talking about Bigfoot. All right. I hope you guys will see where we're at. An hour? That went by. Seems like it'd be a lot longer than that, but we went by pretty smoothly with that. So let's get some things loaded back up. I think we might take a look at the story with the Bugajewinini, which is the wild man that appears to the cultural hero of the same Anishinaabe people that we just heard from that elder. I haven't dived into that channel. I don't know if they have that specific story with some imagery that we could listen to maybe next time, but I am going to go read and look back at this over here at this book from a different Native American elder, a Ojibwe elder. Get this loaded up, and we are going to read the specific part of the Bugajewinini. Took a little bit to practice that Bugajewinini, and there are 15 chapters in this book. as I'm about to put on for you guys so you guys can look at it. And of course, this is the Midenoshi book, or the grandfather book, of course. And in this book, there's the 15 chapters, the Ojibwa creation story, the original man walks the earth, original man and his grandmother, the earth's first people, the great flood, there's Wanabajo, and the search for his father, which is the story that we are going to take a look at. And of course, there's Wanabajo and his return to his people, the 7 grandfathers and the little boy, and that is the story that we just heard from that elder. So we can actually take a look at this and to see if the wild man is in that one, or if the raven is replaced with him, because sometimes they've replaced wild with Gichisabe with raven, and I'm not sure what that reason is. I know that some particular tribes and very small, especially the modern, I don't know what kind of like clan systems or family systems they go by, but they have family teachings of stuff too, and also might be a way to hide the original teachings from modern people. But so I don't even know. Well, take a look at that. But I do know when you look at the 7 grandfather teachings in the little boy, sometimes Gichisabe is missing and is replaced. The same thing with the other tribe from the pictured rock and stuff. They replaced the wild man in their creation story. In 2008, they revised and came out a book. In 2008, that tribe came out with a book. In the book, the wild man part that he races the coyote is replaced with grizzly bear, and grizzly bear races a coyote. And then when the people are created, people look at grizzly bear and are scared away, and grizzly bear is sad and he cries, and that is what's depicted on the rock. But the original one was the wild men raced coyote, and wild men wanted people to walk on 2 legs like him. And when people were created, they looked at the wild man, and they were scared and they ran away. Of course, then he began to cry, and that's what's depicted on the picture of that rock. So, with Kathy Strain coming out with her book and pissing off that tribe, they came out and revised that story in a book. So I don't know. I don't know why that is, why that happens, but sometimes when you read some of these stories, there are slight variances, because there are different variances in the story of the tribe because of the telephone game, but also because sometimes of modern times they ain't telling you the original sacred text to the original colonists. Sometimes they or 1800s authors and people who studied Native Americans, might have got not the most sacred information, but stuff that was replaced. And so sometimes there's stories with raven, but as we just heard from that Native American elder and that specific clan and tribe, that is how the story that they tell it, and that's how they are representing it. And then, so let's go to. So here is the old man in the first Midwin ceremony, the clan system, the pipe and the eagle, the sweat lodge, the 7 fires, which I believe are the prophecy of the 7 fires, the 7 fire prophecies, the migration of the Anishinaabe, and the conclusion, and stepping into modern history. And of course, this is a nice book that you guys can pick up on Amazon, or you can check it out and read it on here. Or it is the Misho Mush book, or the grandfather book, The Voice of the Ojibwa by Edward Benton Benani. which was he did some a Native American activist and of course elder. And this is a book that was published in 1979, I believe it was. Of course, the acknowledgement is the Ojibwe word for grandfather. The Minutia book, the grandfather book, comes from the words passed down from the grandfathers and grandmothers. The author wishes to recognize the contribution of his elders from the Likwak. I'm butchering that name right there, but here's the reservation. I believe that's in Canada, if I remember correctly. That's a Canadian reservation. I don't remember what province, but another Wisconsin. I thought it was. I don't know. I've been doing a lot of stuff, and this one Ojibwe tribe from Canada and stuff we're talking about. It might have been the guy who was giving a speech, and he was talking about his version of the seven grandfather teachings, and in that, he didn't. And actually, I think I can show that. I'm not sure which part. It might take a while, but he in that one he doesn't talk about Kichisabe, but he acknowledges that other people's way of telling this story is different than my way. This is my way, how I see it, and which I thought was a good reference to show. But he does acknowledge these elders and stuff, and so what I'm saying is that this book is not some like filler put together by some random Native American guy who, is ousted by all the tribes and his crackpot stories and stuff. This is a book that is acknowledged by the elders and accepted as a good book within some of these tribes and family clans, I guess. So it's not just some book of crackpot stuff put together, but is something that is valued in as representation. So let's go to page 36. So it's going to be like 39, close enough. So he basically Ninja Bojo basically goes to search for his father, and he starts off at the Atlantic Ocean, the eastward ocean. He goes to the Niagara Falls. He begins to speak to different entities and spiritual stuff. He has a solar eclipse that provides him with visions and stuff. We read this last live show. Of course, he goes into the plains, talks to the buffalo. He encounters the grizzly bear on the Rocky Mountains. And then we get to this page, and this is where he encounters, there's the picture for herself, and here's the story. Another story that is thousands of years old, talking about the Bugojinini, which is the wild man. And we're going to reread this. After his encounter with the grizzly bear, Wanabojo, or Nanobojo, or Nanoboju, I'm going to say it Nanobojo because I'm more familiar with reading the Potawatomi versions, and it's spelled with the N way of saying it, Nanobojo. Nanoboju came to a greater understanding of the high peaks and the ice and snow. The sudden winds and storms and blizzards did not catch him by surprise. He learned the respect of the great and strange place of the mountains. He knew that that man was not meant to live here, that this was a special, awesome place where let me get this so I can see it a little bit better without just cropping out everything for you guys. This is a special, awesome place where the wind sings its greatest songs. This is a place where silence is most powerful. With this knowledge and respect, Nanabojo Yeah, I don't want to crop it for you guys. Here we go. Nana Bourgeot passed through the mountains peacefully. When Nana Bourgeot at last descended from the mountains, he was confronted to see yet another expanse of flat land stretched out in front of him. Once he was at the prairies. Oh, of course, the little thunderers came. Let's skip that. We don't skip that. Nana Bourgeot walked on and came to still another range of mountains, not quite as tall as those that he had passed behind him. He's journeying westward. He journeyed without rest until coming to the forest of the Windingo, Meatake, the forest of the giant trees, and here's the depiction of probably the redwoods, where the trees were so tall that could not even see their tops. He could walk no further. Underneath the giant trees, Nana Bourgeot made camp. He built a fire and rested. As he lay there, it sounded as though the trees were whispering to him. Why do you want to do such a thing as this journey you have set out on? It is crazy. It is crazy. Nana Bourgeot dozed off, but soon woke with a start, as if someone or something had prodded him. He looked around slowly. Even though he did not see anything, he knew he was not alone. Suddenly, he noticed that just out of his direct eyesight was a being, a huge, dark figure with red eyes that peered out of a shadowy face. Again, he felt his fear rising to an uncontrollable level. He wanted to run, but he thought fleetingly of defending himself, of fighting. But violence was unknown to the world at this time. He was able to control both his fear and terror, but still he felt a new, strange sensation. What was the strange feeling that possessed him? For the first time in many years, violence was evident on the earth. But with Nana Bourgeot, it was only a thought. He was able to put it aside. Violence, which was the twin of peace, must always be secondary and subservient to peace, just as with Nana Bourgeot. The shadowy being spoke. I am Bugajawinini, wild man. Some of the people who follow you will know me as Sasquatch or Yeti, but they will seldom see me. It will be forbidden for them to look into my eyes. Some will not ever know of me. Many will not believe that I exist. I am your eldest brother. I have been with you on your journey. I have been ahead of you at times and behind you at times. Sometimes I have watched you walk. Sometimes I have watched you walk by. The Creator sent me here to guide and care for you, those who become lost. I am to watch over those who go into the forest, swamps, hills, and mountains to gather medicine and other things. If those who seek the medicine roots, bark, and berries will ask me in a good way, if their thoughts are good and their concern is for others, I will help them find the medicine they seek. I will know their thoughts. Also, I am to help those who choose to meditate, pray, and fast in the Bugajawinini, or in the Bugwajin, wild and natural places. I am the caretaker of all these places, the deep forests, swamps, mountains, deep valleys. I am natural man. I am to be the different one. Let me reread that. I am natural man. I am to be the different one, different in all ways. I shall not build a home or gather in towns, nor shall I assemble with my own kind in tribes or nations. I will make no trails, nor will I build canoes. I am to be alone in quiet solitude and majesty of the natural world of the Creator. I shall know of man's presence, and I will know his thoughts. But only the Anishinaabe shall know me. I am not to desire companionship of the Anishinaabe or others, but only the Anishinaabe shall know and honor me. Little brother, I have watched your journey and have known your thoughts. I will tell you of some, but not all of the things you have wondered about. First, you must always treat the natural creation with respect. When you must come through my territory, honor those places with tobacco and good thoughts. Give me a second, I got a cough. Ugh, get a little drink. Be not in fear in the way that you shall not become lost. It says, be not in fear. In that way you shall not become lost or confused, and no harm shall befall you. Be always in wonder in all of these natural works that you see. They are the hand and thought of the Creator, Kichimanito. These works, whether they be mountains, glaciers, waterfalls, the deepest swamps, or the wildest places, should never be changed, diverted, or disturbed. They are to remain as they are now, just as I am to remain in my natural way. When Nanabojo did not need to voice his thoughts as he visited with Bugajwinini, and they conversed through the night. Bugajwinini continued, or Wildman continued, to tell him many things that he had previously wondered about. Here upon the earth is a plane, a place marked by time. Nowhere else in the universe is time necessary. Remember that time belongs to the Creator and none other. It is the one thing that is beyond the reach of man. None shall ever see it. Very few shall ever get to know it. Do not concern yourself with it. If you do, it will become an obsession, and in the end you will become a slave to it. I know of many things that have puzzled you. The time that you have looked into the sky and wondered about the clouds. The time that you felt raindrops on your face and looked into the distance to see rain falling in torrents. The time you felt warm and cold drafts of air sweep across your face. The time when you saw the heat dancing in waves over the plains. Here upon our lap of our mother, the earth, is a place in time that hangs between 8 levels of elements. These elements are unseen, but are as real and necessary for life as the water you drink. Of these 8 elements, 4 are above the earth and 4 are below the earth. The elements are the things that must work together if life itself is to be. All these things work together. Lift the waters into the clouds. Your oldest uncle, the wind, then blows this water to where it is needed, where it falls to the ground to nourish the grasses, flowers, and other beings who are dependent on it for life. Beyond this, there are elements that work together to change the seasons. The seasons are evidence of time. Someday, when time comes according to the Creator's plan, the cup of life will be measured by time. But even though time will be a part of life, life cannot exist without the other thing we have spoken of, Remember, the cup of life is water, and the cup is measured by time. If you should climb to the highest peak, you should feel the you sh, ugh. If you should climb to the highest peak, you will feel the absence of the air which is necessary to draw into your body in order to live. Likewise, if you would go into the earth soon, it would get pitch black and there would be only poisons to breathe and draw into your body. As you walk on your journey, remember that there is a purpose to all things. There is a reason for the gentle rains, the gentle winds, as well as their opposites. Accept these things I give you. The evidence is all around you. See it, know it, accept it. Accept this knowledge as a way of knowing. Accept it as you accept the knowledge of your own shadow. When your shadow is cast on the ground, you are able to see it. But even though you do not see it at times, you know that your shadow is still there. Your shadow represents your relationship to the grandfather sun and the four directions, and thus the universe. It is time for you to continue your journey. I will be with you, little brother, wherever your steps may take you. There is one last thing I wish to leave you, and then we shall never talk again. You have a twin brother you've always warned about, whom you would seek. This I tell you. He is your other side in all things and in all ways. He is with you. Do not seek him. Do not wish to know him, but understand him. You will walk in the path of peace. He would not. You are kind. He is not. You are humble. He is not. You are generous. He is not. You seek the good things. He does not. You shall respect others. He will not. You will seek the goodness in others, and he will not. You are the light. He is the darkness. Know that he is with you. Understand him, but do not seek him. And with that, the Bugajawinini left Nanabojo and vanished like a shadow into the woods. Nanabojo sat under the great trees, pondering all the things he had just received. His thoughts were interrupted, and the story continues. Fascinating stuff that is portrayed. It seems, what can you even say? Yeah, this story is thousands of years old as the others, as old or older. It's older than the seven grandfather teachings, I believe, or same time period. But the wild man is depicted with with his eyes. First, he's depicted as of course, hiding in the bush, like they normally do now, right? They hide in the bushes. But let's take a look at some of the stuff that I thought was very particular. Of course, the first thing was the thought of fighting. The thought of violence was unknown to the world. But he was able to control his fear and terror and the new sensation, which was violence, trying to defend himself when he encountered this thing. And of course, the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, the Bugajawinini, is able to read his thoughts, is able to mind speak with him, basically, and read his thoughts. I am the shadow of being spoke. I am the Bugajawinini, wild man. Some of the people who follow you will know me as Sasquatch or Yeti, but they will seldom see me. It will be forbidden for them to look into my eyes. Some will never know of me. Some will never know of me. Many will not believe that I exist. I am your eldest brother. So if this was crackpot bullshit, it wouldn't be, acknowledged by some of the elders that he referenced and stuff. And this guy, who we did look at his bio a little bit last live show, who is a Native American activist and elder and a bunch of different stuff, I would have been called out on as crackpot bullcrap. but this was accepted as the teachings of the story of Nanobojo's journey to find his father. And there's a lot of different things. This is just one little thing in the story of the whole journey. Several things happen, and little thunderers or little thunder spirits who try to misguide him from traveling and arriving to his father. And of course, when he travels and crosses the Americas, Turtle Island, America, he describes, the Atlantic. He describes the St. Lawrence River, the 5 Great Lakes, the Mississippi River, the Great Rocky Mountains, where he encounters the grizzly bear. There's a Mississippi River, the Great Plains. There's a sister river he calls she's like the princess of all the rivers, smaller than the Mississippi. Then he goes to the Rocky Mountains. Then he goes to a little plains and another set of mountains. And he, of course, goes to the place where the trees are as tall and you can't see the treetops. And, of course, it's depicted as the redwoods, where some of those tribes talk about Bigfoot more openly, and that every Bigfoot researcher can find. And, oh, yeah, Bigfoot. But this story is found in the middle, seemingly of nowhere, out of place, and is not talked about. This story, this reference, this story, and of this cultural hero. Of course, when you talk to mainstream academics and historians, of course, they're going to say, well, this is their whatever interpretation that they're going to spin on it, instead of just the Native American story of just how it is that the grandfather book tells us, of the grandfather teachings, of all the teachings to the people of the Anishinaabe. And this cultural hero, Nanobojo of the Anishinaabe, is one of the very first cultural heroes. He is the main one, and is the one who, he told the muskrat and the beaver and to go down after the world was flooded. They were floating in a canoe log to go and raise up some earth. And there's a story about the flood and stuff. So after the flood and the earth is, land is back on, he goes with his grandmother, and he has a bunch of different adventures and stuff. But this particular one where he goes to see his father, in the middle of it, where he's getting teachings from the buffalo, and he speaks to different animals and different things that he encounters, and he's getting teachings and stuff and lessons to teach the people. This is just so happens to be in the middle of it. And of course, so now in modern times, we're looking for Bigfoot. And if Bigfoot is anything like what this is describing as, and him acknowledging as, right here, I am the caretaker of all these places, the deep forests, the swamps, the mountains, the deep valleys. I am natural man. I am to be the different one. Different in all ways. I shall not build a home or gather in towns, nor will I assemble with my own kind in tribes or nations. I will make no trails. Nor will I build canoes. I am to be alone in the quiet solitude and majesty of the natural world of the Creator. I shall know of man's presence, and I will know his thoughts. Only the Anishinaabe shall know me. I am not to desire companionship of the Anishinaabe or others. It's describing his people right there. And this is a legend thousands of years old. To me, it's pretty different. They're going to be different in all ways, much different than us. But only the Anishinaabe shall know me. I am not to desire companionship of the Anishinaabe or others. But only the Anishinaabe shall know and honor me. I mean, right there, if Sasquatch are people and they have their own cultural knowledge and stuff that they are taught, well, obviously they are taught to not have companionship with the natives or companionship with others, and they have a code of conduct and they have things that they go by and probably that they follow. I mean, this is why I say if there are people, you know, there seems like there's a standardized rule of conduct of how to deal with people, how to deal with Bigfoot research, how to deal with everyone that goes out in the woods by these things. And it's not some dumb ape animal that is just being instinctively good at hiding, where it's just, you know, it just hides really well because, you know, its instincts are telling them to hide. And somehow it's able to, you know, stay hidden. But if they are a people and they have an understanding and a way about going about things and sacred understanding, sacred religious teachings from the great creator, the same great creator that is the same great creator to the Anishinaabe, the great spirit, the great creator. It's just amazing stuff. So it really points in the direction of, you know, the big overall Native American Bigfoot misconception that, oh yeah, they're giant hairy giants and wendigos and skinwalkers and they're rougarous and werewolves and they're, you know, they're buckwas, you know, buckwas. You know, if you look at the story of buckwas, they're described as a drowned a zombie ghost who, you know, makes people eat ghost food and then they turn into a ghost. Buckwa. You know, there's a lot of shit you can lump together as Bigfoot, but when you're going to get into the real stuff that is hard to find in the middle of a story that has nothing to do with Bigfoot, no references of Bigfoot or nothing, you might find some golden evidence like we have here on display on this. And so the quotations is of the Sasquatch speaking, right? So he's speaking of I am Bugojunian, I am wild man. Some of my people, some of the people who follow you will know me as Sasquatch or Yeti. That might be some people who follow you, you know, in time, in future, who follow you. Will know me as Sasquatch or Yeti and stuff. And there's quotations from the Sasquatch speaking. So I'm not 100% sure if the original story, the wild man actually does say Sasquatch or Yeti, or if that is the Native American elders acknowledging and putting that in there. But all of this is quotation of what the Sasquatch or the Bugajunian wild man is saying to Nanabojo. So, and again, we showed that has acknowledgement of the elders of the reservation in Wisconsin. And if he put together a book that was crackpot, bull crap, and misrepresentation of their stories of sacred texts, I think that this book would be ripped on and you know, that guy would have been shunned from the community. And it was the opposite. He's an elder who's giving the information, and it is being shared and to preserve the Ojibwe cultural heritage and of the Anishinaabe. You know, this is their attempt to put out the information to everyone and to have a way to pass it down to the next generation and also to preserve it from being lost. So I do find this very fascinating, and it's very complex when you get into the native Bigfoot misconception. But when you really get into it, depending on the tribes and stuff, you know, the Anishinaabe considers Bigfoot or the Bugajunian or Kichisabe, as we just heard, listened to from the other elder, as totally different than, oh, it's a big ape, or it's a big cannibal giant who kills people and eats people, and when you burn it and stuff, it has a little ice jewel right there. But so in modern times, right, so it's of course Native American mythology and lore and storytelling, and this is comparable to the Greek mythology and stuff, is what modern people would say, right? Where it's just bullcrap, and it's just not it's not real. To them, it is real. To them, it was 100% the way to live by, and these are the most important stories of their grandfathers, of the oldest people to come to North America. Literally, it talks about their people, the Anishinaabe, migrating to Turtle Island, which is North America, and then their journey through to the Great Lakes and all this. And they claim that they start on the East Coast. They don't come from the West, from the land bridge and stuff. The Anishinaabe people and their cultural story and beginnings is they originate from the East to Turtle Island, and then they begin to migrate westward, which is very fascinating stuff. And of course, modern historians and people who will tell you that, well, this story is only maybe 1,000 years old. It's the Anishinaabe people begin to migrate, and just a couple hundred years ago, not significantly thousands and thousands of years. Even though the stories of all these stories and stuff is what they are told by are much older than any historian is giving reference to, because to them, these natives past 1500, right, are basically just not sophisticated at all, and pretty much only at the 1500s and 1000 or 1500s, and then when 1600s they were discovered, that's when their culture really flourished. Even though there was the Mississippian culture and the Copper Mountain people and all this other different stuff, modern historians from a lot of years don't consider that real. And now they're finding Native American artifacts that are like 30,000 years old and older in North America, and they find some very old ones. So with actual indications of native peoples, or I can't remember whatever term it is to describe the type of people that were here. Let's see. Sasquatch, Wizard, Adirondacks. That's a valid hypothesis, Blake, but what if the natives had their share of tinfoil hat wearing people? What if they're oh, let me get rid of that. What if what many perceive to be more authentic because its native lore is just more stories? Well, you gotta look into it and find. And when you gotta do that, when I don't know, all of the people, or the Anishinaabe, all these different tribes, and they all talk about the same thing, and the 7 grandfather teachings, and all the grandfather teachings that they have, and how important it is and stuff, that some of these, literally the wisdom is coming from God, or the creator itself, the great spirit. I would think it's pretty easily be able to prove that it's not from just some tinfoil hat dude sitting around a campfire drunk telling stories and influencing all these great people, the whole tribes of the Anishinaabe for thousands of years to come. And you look at all the different tribes of Native Americans. I mean, they're all different individual tribes in different areas, and they talk about very similar entities of little people and of different stuff, and sometimes they have their own spiritual gods and different references, and it's pretty easily determined that they all have their own unique cultural setup that is not caused by some tinfoil hat dude by a campfire telling stories. Something like that wouldn't have the outreach, I think, to influence all the Native American tribes for thousands of years. But I get it and stuff. It is the telephone game, though. So there is the oral tradition where that just happens. You're doing the telephone game where Nanabojo, the name, or Wanabojo, it's spelled with the N or it's spelled with a W. Instead of N-A-N, it's W-A-Y. So, there's different variations that you can tell in the story. You can tell in the language and tell in the words and how they're spelled and how they're spoke. But it is only like a mispronunciation of, or they say Wanabojo, Nanamojo, Witago, Windigo, Pukwudgies, Paishis. They're all talking about the same thing. It's just different through the dialect of the language of the tribe separated. So, man, you could go on. I could go on for probably a couple more hours talking about this, but we're going to wrap this up. I am actually speaking on my phone. I wanted to have clear, good reception when I'm talking about this because I kind of hate that some things were getting skipped around. I'm not sure with the internet what's going on. I've looked into it. Everything seems fine. Everything seems to be running fine. I've done other tests and other stuff, so I'm not sure if it's StreamYard the last couple times, if it's been my computer itself. I don't think so. I just bought it. It's brand new. But, so I did it off the phone this time. I'm still able to show everything. So it's pretty smooth. But I'm going to jump off because the phone is dying. I appreciate everyone. Wait, let me see. Right here. Lockbeard says those are not from what we call Native Americans. Those are more ancient artifacts that are from the ancient Europeans who come long before, such as the red-headed giants referred to as the Paiute stories. Yes, that is more stuff that we are going to probably get into because there are some more ancient stories from, I think, the Appalachians that talk about, and these are hard stories to kind of find, and they are a little bit more vague and not really typically found in books and backed by the tribes and stuff, where these red-headed and black-haired giants, built fortresses on the tops of mountains or on the tops of Appalachia and went to war and stuff. And there was a big war with Native Americans. But these ancient artifacts that they find are typically, I think, from the Clovis people, and there's some other type of people which are pre-Native American early people who came across a land bridge, even though the Anishinaabe said they came from the east to Turtle Island. But that's because so much is lost. So much is just stereotypes. So much is just interpretation by the original historians and people who got these stories. And sometimes, the miscommunication of natives to the English, or translation of words and stories itself. So it's complicated. It's kind of sucks. Blackbeard says, "I am a Choctaw tribe member. I have had my battles about the truth of the past with tribal governments. There is no honor in denying the truth." And I think that's the case. You have tribal governments and councils and elders and people who decide what's best for everyone. And, a lot of stories and a lot of information and sacred stuff is probably being held on for good reasons. It's the most, they don't want it to be lost and made fun of or just pooped on to Bigfoot is, the misconception of the native Bigfoot in all tribes and all these different stories. And it's all just whatever. Gotcha. Yeah, because there was they do talk about sometimes sometimes it's talked as bullshit, but there was a land bridge from the east, Europe, from the European continent to the Eastern America that has been hypothesized or talked about, and of course there was Doggerland, which was the coastal land north of or off of France and it was like Spain and France or northern Germany and France, I think. Doggerland that got flooded and stuff that was talked about and known about, and they have artifacts from. So there's a lot of stuff that we're not talked about that's not acknowledged. That is, well, the scientists and all of them just don't want to put out, or they need a little bit more information or whatever. The fact of it is that they don't take any Native Americans or African tribe stories or legends or mythologies or spiritual beliefs seriously at all. In fact, it is one of the most under appreciated cultures and legends and stories probably in the whole world, because everywhere else, it's become popularized and stuff, but Native American cultures and legends and spirituality and stuff has always been repressed. And the reservations and Native Americans who lives on the reservations are among the poorest and living in squalor places besides California and San Francisco, but they are among the most porous and oppressed people we have in America by the government, and a lot of their treaties and a lot of the different treaties and stuff that put in place by the government ourselves are not held to standard. They're not appreciated, and they always get changed and stuff. So a lot of times it's been, oh well, we're just going to change this, and well, that didn't matter that we wrote that 100 years ago or the last treaty. We're just going to change it right now and do this, and it doesn't really matter. We're going to take your land, and well, we told you this, but now things have changed, and that continues, and it's sad. And what's happening in Canada with their tribes, it's disastrous, and they consider genocidal, and it is to their culture. Trudeau is, for a lot of years, with a lot of different industry, have been affecting these people, and I'm thankful that we have these stories that I can bring to you guys to reference and talk about, regardless if it's Bigfoot, because of the people of the natives who survived all the oppression and genocidal stuff, diseases, Trail of Tears, everything. So after going through everything they went through, they still want to pass down the knowledge of their grandfathers and their teachings of their people to not only their younger native generations, but to everyone who wants to listen and learn and appreciate and try to live up to these different standards and stuff. Because there's the seven fire prophecies, or the seven fires. It talks about how even white people there will come a time where everyone can go back, and it's regardless of native blood or anything. It's basically your soul of loving and coming together and changing the world. And if we don't and continue to pollute the world and destroy it, then we're going to go down the route of Armageddon, which is what they say is very similar. But if we can love and embrace and change, then we can live in a total opposite end. But that will be for next time. We'll read those typical. I'm getting a little tongue tied again. We'll read that set of Native American stories from the Anishinaabe next time. I appreciate everyone for coming on and taking the time to listen to this. Appreciate all the good comments, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this. My brain is like running on 1,000 miles per hour, so sometimes it's hard to slow down and not just try to just zoom through everything. And I so appreciate it. Yeah, so be on the lookout for more stuff to come, and we'll be getting into more of the Native American misconception of Bigfoot, or just Native American Bigfoot stuff, or just maybe some Native American stuff too, because some of these stories are just fascinating that I find, and this has heavily influenced me in my ways of what I do in the woods, my woodsmanship, and you know how I would go about Bigfooting and stuff, and maybe I might try a little things a little bit differently and stuff. You know, maybe take a more natural approach and maybe try to go to the spiritual side and see if results vary, right? Because we got to try different things to see if something sticks, something works, because we don't know. You know, are they a people that are different? Are they able to do all these weird things, or are they, you know, some, you know, wild gorilla out there that's just, you know, a leftover from the ice age or beyond that? But my phone's about to die. I appreciate everyone for watching and listening. If you guys really like the content, you can spread and share this one, and maybe we can get some more people on here one of these days to talk about some Native American cultural stuff and stories and their opinions on different stuff. So I appreciate everyone for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. God bless everyone, and we'll see you next time.